Did the old prophets actually meet angels on top of mountains? Or were they highly intelligent beings from a galaxy far, far away? Welcome to UFOlogy, where we explore the truth about alien life. Because let's face it, we're not alone, and the evidence is everywhere. In this video, we'll be looking at some of the dangers of space and space exploration. As technology advances, space exploration becomes more and more common. Lots of people want to travel up there, from scientists to billionaires. But space is a dangerous place. There are many risks, especially on longer trips. If you're curious to know more, let's dive into the video. One of the major concerns for travelers on long space flights is isolation and confinement. If you cram a group of people into a small space for a long period, behavioral issues will occur, no matter how well trained they are. It happens a lot on Earth. This includes stories of unruly sailors, students in a camp, and many others. You may have even experienced it on long trips. Your family's crammed into the car. Your dad keeps playing that annoying song on the radio. Your sister's kicking your seat. Your mom is nagging. It's enough to drive a person mad, except in this case, you'll exit the vehicle after a couple of hours. Deep space voyages could take years, especially with our current technology. Without pit stops, a spat could mean life and death for crew members. Sleep loss and work overload will compound this issue. Plus, there's also the issue of our biological clocks going out of sync. This may lead to performance decrements, adverse health outcomes, and compromised mission objectives. NASA funded a report on long space flights. In it, it states that the U.S. astronauts' #1 concern on missions is getting along with crewmates. Their journals reflect that concern. "I think I do need to get out of here," one astronaut wrote. "Living in close quarters with people over a long period, definitely even things that normally wouldn't bother you so much at all, can bother you after a while. That can drive anybody crazy. These feelings can be limited by keeping busy. The intense psychological screenings that crew members undergo also helps, but the specter of violence and even mutiny will always be a possibility. And returning to Earth is a challenge on its own. Many astronauts struggle to readjust to life amongst others, especially when they've been living with only a few colleagues up there for a long time." Speaking of distance, it's another danger of space travel. Mars is, on average, 140 million miles from Earth. Astronauts will take 3 years just to get there. International Space Station or ISS expeditions serve as a rough foundation for the expected impact on planning logistics for such a trip, but the data isn't always comparable. If a medical event or emergency happens on the ISS, the crew can just return home within hours. Additionally, cargo vehicles continually resupply the crews with fresh food, medical equipment, and other resources. On a trip to Mars or further destinations, there will be no one coming to your aid. Planning and self-sufficiency are essential to a successful long-distance mission. From Earth to Mars alone, there is a communication delay of up to 20 minutes, and that's just one-way communication. The possibility of equipment failures or a medical emergency means astronauts must be prepared to confront an array of situations without outside help. Numerous medical emergencies can arise in space. One that concerns scientists is the survival of harmful bacteria or other pathogens. We've known since the 1960s that some microorganisms can survive the perils of space. They are even capable of withstanding harmful radiation. Our best efforts to wipe space vessels clean of microorganisms often fail. Exposure to these potentially pathogenic organisms is unavoidable. Researchers found that the airborne fungus Aspergillus fumigatus, the most common cause of invasive fungal infections in humans, grows as well on the ISS as it does on Earth. If fumigatus survives in space, so could many other pathogens. The researchers say we need a better detection and cleaning policy. This is to avoid sending a ship full of astronauts into the dangers of deep space, only to have them killed by a pathogen from Earth. Other experiments have also been conducted on bacteria in space. One experiment was conducted via the SpaceX rocket. 3 panels of bacteria went up with it. One for a year of exposure, another for 2 years, and another for 3. After astronauts readied the panels, a robotic arm controlled by Earth grabbed the panels and set them in place. The results showed that the Deinococcus bacteria survived the 3-year experiment. The bacteria cells in the outer layers of the masses died, but those dead outer cells shielded those inside from irreparable DNA damage. And when the masses were large enough, cells inside survived for several years. Making mistakes is something humans are pretty good at. Throughout history, we've made a lot of mistakes. Some of these mistakes have been catastrophic, like the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown. In space, mistakes tend to hold heavier consequences. Take the Space Shuttle Challenger and Columbia disasters, for example. Both shuttles broke apart because of minor mechanical problems. Both times, all the astronauts on board died. We've talked about this in a previous video. Go check it out if you're curious. With Challenger, rubber O-rings failed to seal properly in the cold. In Columbia's case, it broke apart during re-entry when insulating foam punctured its left wing. NASA management knew about these mechanical issues in both cases, but they failed to act because the same issues had never derailed a mission in the past. On long space flights, tensions will be running high. The crew will likely be suffering from anxiety, depression, or confusion. Under those conditions, the odds of making mistakes are amplified. This includes errors like making a crash landing, leaky spacesuits, or even the loss of the water supply. Finding a way to limit the dangers of space and learning from past mistakes will ensure the safest flight to Mars and beyond. Space is dangerous. There's no doubt about that. The brightest minds in various space agencies are working to lessen those dangers. Will they succeed? Hopefully. There's so much to uncover out there, possibly even alien life. Make sure to comment below on what your thoughts are, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to tune in next week.